Hello. Thank you for joining us for doing research with real world data and social media. This is a presentation on how to find data and define what you're going to do with it. The next section and presentation will be on how to manipulate and organize it and create visualizations with it. Um, so to start out, I wanted to share a little bit about myself. I am a writer at night and took a class in data storytelling through the university and received some training um, for a whole week on using a variety of different data tools to create visualizations and make reporting and writing more accessible to people and more engaging. And I thought, this would be really cool if we could do this for our doctoral students and for our advanced master students because when they're writing papers and writing dissertations, these skills could definitely come in handy. Um, and at the same time, I realized that finding and looking for this information, this work that the people in the journalism world were doing was very much like the work that we do in the research methods process, or in what I like to think of as the scientific method process of, posing a question, um, and then developing a hypothesis, testing that hypothesis, um, and coming up with some conclusions based on the experimentation that we do in and with the data in this case. So, as doctoral students and master students, you must come up with unique topics to write about, and this use of data will help you stand out. And it's tough to do. It's tough to find topics that people haven't covered yet. What does make it easier is the data, and the data can allow you to um, find unique ways to tell stories about information and things that are happening with visualizations, which will make it more compelling. Um, the questions that I'm posing and hoping to address in this presentation are: what is data? What is big data? Why is it important? Where can I find it on the internet? How do I download it? And after that, in part two, we'll cover how to organize and manipulate it using a couple tools that I think are easy to use and useful. So what is data? It is a raw, very messy set of information is really what it is. The large data sets that you see and are accessible to download are huge. They're Excel spreadsheets with tens of thousands of lines. Big data has and a lot of inaccuracies and spam and problems, and can be like a huge box filled with all kinds of junk and crap in there. So it's not organized, and so it's a matter for us to try and find what it is that in a given data set that will tell a story that will work with the paper we're writing or the story we're trying to come up with to pitch to a newspaper. So primary resources like spreadsheets and digitized paper records are also a kind of data as well, and those and I also consider tweets and Facebook posts and other social media bits of information to be data as well. Data sets are released, on social media. They're also released on nonprofit websites. The government has a huge website, which I'll show you, of all their data. The city of Boston has a huge website now called Analyze Boston that it provides access to data sets in. Commercial services, there are repositories, there are also databases that the library and BU subscribe to that that have that may have these data sets that will work for you. Um, All information is mostly downloadable and mostly in um, CSV, or comma separated value, which is basically a Microsoft Excel spreadsheet um, format. So it'll be whatever the title of the file name is, .csv, or whatever the file name is, .xls. You'll see that frequently. I'll show you that in a few minutes. And also, datasets can be created and developed based on research that you're doing in primary resources, which was the case with one of the projects I most recently created a timeline for. So, what does it look like once it's visualized? It looks something like this. So, each and every point on this map is and corresponds to a line on a spreadsheet. So what I'll show you later is that the spreadsheet is just a bunch of lines, and then somehow, because of the magic of technology, you're able to transform this information into a map of places, and create this beautiful visual for people to see. One of the great easy tools to create a map with points on it, with address points on it, is called BatchGeo, and that's one of the first things that I want to talk to you about. Is creating maps. It's very easy thanks to this. Just create a short spreadsheet with address, city, state, and zip code, and it will you can cut and paste those lines of Excel into the BatchGeo website, and it will create for you a URL link that it will email you to have access to a visual representation of the lines of addresses that you put into the website. So it's a really easy, awesome way to create a map, which might be beneficial if you have an institution that has more than one location, or you're writing a story about different locations across the country or in the city of Boston. Timeline.js is another one, product that will create for you a timeline. It's developed by Knight Labs, and this is the website. You create your spreadsheet. It has actually its own template, which I love. Makes it so easy. There are little notes and headers in each of the columns and each of the squares to tell you exactly what to write in each of the fields. And then you publish. You make sure that you publish the spreadsheet to the web. You create it using Google Sheets if you are so inclined, and copy and paste that URL to the spreadsheet in Google Sheets into this website here, and then it will create the timeline with a slider, and you can embed the slider into a web page or into a presentation or whatever. You can embed it pretty much anywhere. So this is an example of the timeline I created using Timeline.js for the Women's Methodist 150th anniversary celebration of their organization, and I did an exhibition, an online exhibition about the windows. I did the stained glass windows that are in the library, and I also did some historical research. So the timeline is right here, and as you can see, there's the timeline piece below, giving you some context as to the beginning and end. And then each page is a little slide, and it shows an image. I've included images. You put all of this information into the spreadsheet, and you're good to go. The images, everything. Everything's web-based. It's very easy to use. It's very slick, and easy to understand as well as a viewer of the material. So that's how that works. I just love it. I think it's so helpful. And even if you don't want to use necessarily a timeline, it can be useful to just build a slider with this software created by Knight Labs. So and then there's all this information. So some of the stuff may not be available. Some of the content may not be available online. So you may have to go to the archives, like I did for the mission and for the United Methodist Women's piece, and pull dates and people out of books, archival material, and brochures, and collate that material, put it into a spreadsheet like I did, and that way create um, the data that you need to create the visualization. So not all data is found online, and not all data is found and is downloadable. Sometimes you're creating it yourself. Other ways to create data points are through polls and surveys, things like that you would do at a church. You kind of try to get people's satisfaction or interest in certain topics, and you could collate that data. And also you could create bar graphs for it. You could create if it was like true, false, or a yes, no question, you could see how many people said yes and how many people said no. Some basic visualizations would be just using bar graphs and other forms of graphs to see pie charts and such to see what people's answers were. So that can be very, very interesting as well. But why is data so important right now? I think more people are far more moved by images because of we're constantly in front of screens. I think that it makes people like that, and people like the idea that it takes a lot of information and makes it visible in one graphic, or places it all in one place, in one context, to make sense of it. It's being able to transform data points into visuals brings it alive for the audience, and for companies and for-profit organizations, and even for nonprofit organizations. It can mean money, and it can mean be a means of showing what your impact is on a community, or on creation of whatever it is that the company is making. So you always are wanting to check benchmarks and see where you were and where you're going, and this is a nice way to show it. So this is a way that Excel can create visualizations. You can just look, build out the spreadsheet and see if it will create a bar graph, or in this case a line graph, for visualizations. This is using their pivot tables in Excel. But before you kind of get into the end product, which is what we see here, the graph, you need to find where and what you're going to focus on, and all of those questions are answered with research methods, or, as I like to kind of contextualize those terms, the scientific method. So developing a topic, searching within that topic, asking the right questions about the topic, and being sure that you have the right people, places, things, the right who, what, where, when, making sure that the things that you're looking at are measurable, and that you're specific about the who, what, where, when, why, and how of things for the particular paper you're writing, or the point you're trying to make with the visual. So the scientific method, just to remind us, and thus research methods, in my mind, begins with asking a question, doing background research in the catalog, constructing a hypothesis or a question, testing that question, further with advanced research and reading in books and articles in the catalog that you found in the catalog, drawing some conclusions, coming up with another question. If the hypothesis doesn't work for what you're writing about, it's thinking about another one, it's reconstructing another hypothesis, and then ultimately putting the data into a spreadsheet and finding the right tool to help transform it into some compelling visualization or number 8, report results. So I just wanted to remind you of those very important fundamentals of research methods because they're very vital during this kind of high octane way of finding and looking at information with the use of data. So how do you find data? Data is found much in the same way that you would find information. If you're looking for information about anything, you go to the web. You can start there, certainly. There are many websites that have data sets that are available for download. Social media, you could pull tweets on various topics that you search on, or pull comments from Reddit if you wanted to build your own data set through mining social media. And then Boston University has access to proprietary databases, and I'll list off a few of those. Some of the websites I like to use that analyze Boston, one is really cool. It has the city of Boston data there. So you can do searches on everything from the sanitation, trash schedules to everything, also other public health issues that might come up as well. There are currently 143 data sets in there. So if we look for, I'm just going to type in 311 requests. That's the 311 requests are requests for assistance that are non-emergent, and they typically are about different parts of the cities. They deal with things like legs that are out or potholes, trash that's in the area, graffiti. So it's a way of kind of keeping up after. So this is what that page looks like. There's a description of the data set. There is the source. It's the way this is all information about the data set. And then to download it, you would click download. You can see over here that it's going to be a CSV or a comma separated value, which is going to, on your laptop or desktop, will probably download as an Excel file. It's a huge, 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 huge data set. There are hundreds of thousands of lines of data in this data set. So, and that's how most data sets are. They are very large. So that is one thing for religion and for religious questions of religious of a religious nature or practical theology nature. I recommend the federal government site, which is data.gov. I recommend the American Religion Data Archive, which is thearda.com. They have huge data sets about religion and organized religion practices in the United States. There are also the government accounting office has a website, ProPublica has a website, Pew Forum has data sets as well. So there's a lot of places to look for information on the web. And again, you can also create your own. And this is a screenshot of my data that I created on my own. So that's another option as well. And then social media is your third option, where you define search terms within let's say Twitter, for example, if you wanted to search on faith or faith in action or whatever hashtag might be, you might do that and see what's been posted about that topic. And then there are also social media aggregators that will help you listen in a way, and they do some searches for you. So a website like this one lists some of the best social media aggregators that are available. I have used in this list, I have used TweetDeck, I have used TweetDeck. I have not used any of the other ones. These are all new. What's great about this list is that it's updated regularly on this Quora site. So some of the other ones that were there in the past that I had used are gone and have been replaced by new updated tools. The media and the data landscape is constantly changing, so having a site like that has updated links is super important. So as I said, yeah, you can go through tweets, you can search on Twitter itself, or you can use some of those social media aggregators as well. The important thing about social media and using anything on the web is to make sure that that you evaluate the websites as you would a book. Or an article, making sure that it's truthful or that it in fact works for your topic that you're writing about. You don't want somebody arguing in the opposite direction. So there's a website called Verification Junkie, and it's a directory of tools for fact checking and assessing of validity of eyewitness reporting and also social media things. So there's some great information and tools on here to help you verify whether or not what things are being written about are accurate, true, and will in fact work with what you are writing about. Because there's a lot of bad or false information out there, so you have to be careful. So other places to find data sets beyond the list that I gave you of those websites is to just go to Google and search free downloadable data and then insert your topic or your area of interest in there. Advanced searching in Google can be helpful, and always check Google Apps to see if there's anything new that they put out recently. Other places, finally, the proprietary databases that BU subscribes to that I know of that would be of most use to you would be the World Religion Database. They have data sets. The World Christian Database has data sets, and the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development has relevant data sets, and I believe we still have access to Data Planet as a trial, so something you might want to look into. All of these are listed, all of these resources, including the presentation and the list of links and other information, can be found on our Data and Statistics Research Guide, and the link to that is right there. It will also be available in this presentation on our website. Now, how do you, the next thing that comes up after you've found the data that you want, how you download it. In most situations, it's usually very easy and clear because there's just a download button, like there was with this one in Analyze Boston. There's just download. You can download that data to your website, and that's to your computer, and that's pretty much how that works. And on this particular screen cap, there's a variety of different formats. There's CSV, there's XML, there's web page. So there's a variety of different ways to look at the data that they offer on that particular website. And then once you've downloaded it, you'll see a big sea of data points and lines upon lines of of data that will be overwhelming, I'm sure, but we'll get it down to you'll with your research and work and thinking and reading, you'll have gotten it down into a place where you can kind of better understand what it is that you want to focus on. And in the next presentation that I'm going to do, I'm going to talk about how to ask questions and experiment with the data you've downloaded. I'm going to talk about organizing, manipulating, and filtering using this website called WTF CSV, and also going to help show how to use Timeline.js and BaxGeo to create maps and timelines, which will in fact present your data visually. So now what I'm thinking is I would love, I can make these slides available to you online, which will happen, and also it would be great if you had specific questions, if you could come in and we could sit down, and I could probably find you great tools for the things that you're looking to actually write and work on. So I would encourage you to please come see me or email me. My email is kjackman@bu.edu, and we can sit down and have a conversation about how to best handle your particular research, so that we can find the right data sets, tools, and visualization options to customize it to the work that you're doing. Thank you for listening in to part 1. I encourage you to watch part 2 so that we can learn more about how to make this all happen. Thanks so much.